Seeing as we get so much pushback here on the show about college football playoff expansion, I wanted to ask you, do you think it should expand? And if not, I want you to tell me why not. And we put this out on the socials at Number One Show on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you get your social media, and ask you, hey, give me your best argument, because this is not your daddy's Facebook page. I'm not just looking for your opinion. Give me the whys, give me the hows. And making her debut on a Number One ranked show, Producer Cat, here to read your responses. What's up, Producer Cat?
Hi, RJ. That was a great intro. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got 3 for you.
Okay.
I'm going to start with this one from let's see, at Steve Bullard.
Okay.
I hate more fun college football games. Give me more bad bowls. What do I win?
Shout out to my buddy Steve, who also helped me get into this space. But he's being sarcastic, and you have to see the tweet to see that. But I think there's a point to be made here that the bowl games and the bowl system does not need to go away, right? You can incorporate the bowl system into a larger playoff, which is why I'm a proponent of 24 teams in the playoff, but I'll stop at 16 because I think that that's a nice big number. And that puts us basically on par with the NFL and how it does things. We're also going to watch football, right? Like, the idea that we're not going to watch these games is preposterous. Now, whether or not we'll go to these games, that is a very good question, because we know that the numbers of people attending games is going down, but the number of people watching games is going up, which means that you like doing what you're doing right now. We're just sitting wherever you're sitting, watching it on your smart device or on your television in your skivvies, right? Like, you're not alone there. I mean, I was late to my own podcast recording because I was looking for pants. That's a big deal. You got to wear pants to go to the games. Now, are you going to watch the game anyway? Yeah, you may or may not do that with pants. That's your own personal business over there. And I think that's one of the reasons why you're staying at home. But again, to the sarcastic comment, there really isn't a great one here, because if you have more inventory, you have more games to watch, more games that are meaningful, you're going to have more fun, period. All right, Producer Cat, what we got?
All right, here's the second one. This is from at Titan802. The only reason not to is because there's never really been a year where you felt the 8th ranked team or 10th ranked team could actually win it all. You could argue it's a complete waste of time.
Did it? What? How are you a complete waste of time? All right, let's just do a quick Google search on who the number 10 team was in the college football playoff, right? Because I think that's going to help us understand just who and what we're talking about here. So number 8 is Cincinnati. Okay, 9-0 at the time, but we'll stop there. And number 10 is Iowa State. All right, so you have Cincinnati, who played in the Peach Bowl and damn near beat Georgia in it, right? With a dude that y'all all keep telling me is great and Desmond Ridder at quarterback. I don't buy it, but that's not the point. You do. And then you talk about Iowa State, who got its first major bowl victory ever against Oregon in the Fiesta Bowl with a unanimous All-American tailback at Breece Hall. They play outstanding defense. They have one of the best linebacking cores in all of football. To say nothing of Mike Rose. They get Greg Eisworth back, and they got a dominant edge rusher in Will McDonald out there. That dude had double-digit sacks. He was the only guy in the Power 5 returning who did that. So, A, you're wrong, and B, who wouldn't want to see these matchups and have them mean something? Right? Like, that's the other part. You have a realistic opportunity to catch Alabama on a down day. You have a real opportunity to catch Oklahoma without a defense, to catch Notre Dame without a real offense outside of Kyron Williams, to really go after a Texas A&M team that got, dumped on its head by Alabama, but also showed up and beat down a Florida team that everybody thought was going to be really good. Okay? With a Heisman Trophy candidate. This is the kind of thinking that really sets us back, because you're empowering the best teams in college football and you are weakening everybody else. It means that you're not going to see any movement at the top. It's one of the reasons why, we're going to get into rankings here a little bit and post-spring and whatnot, but it's difficult to have a real conversation about Coastal Carolina because you don't think they're that good, even though they went into their bowl game undefeated. They stopped the mud hole in BYU and walked it dry. Okay. And yet here we are talking about how they're not good enough to play for championships. And I would leave you with this thought. There are over 11,000 FBS players. Half of them, more than half of them, 55% of them play in Group of 5 teams and conferences. You're trying to tell me that you want to tell over 5,500 kids they're not good enough to play for national championships. Why? Just because you believe it. Not because somebody beat them. Not because they caught an L. Not because, what? They don't play at Ohio State? They don't play at Alabama? They don't play at Florida, Clemson? They don't play in a Power 5 conference. You're going to sit here and try to tell me that Kansas has more claim to playing for a national championship than Liberty did last year? Okay. You can be out there with that bad opinion, but you're not coming up with a good argument for why the playoffs should not expand, especially following a pandemic where, hey, everybody needs a little bit more money, and the best way to create money in college football is create more inventory. Or am I the person that went to econ class that day? Let me know at RJ_Young. All right, producer Cat, what we got?
All right, the last one is from at Shillsbury. Should not expand until the players get a share of the profit. No sense in putting more risk on their body until that happens. The NFL already knows who they want in their ranks, and expanded playoff wouldn't help that. It may help a few players' stock, but not the many.
I think you need to adjust the focus of your lens on this one. While I think your heart's in the right place, right, of wanting to see the players get paid for their labor, I think you're missing the point of expanding the playoff, because in expanding the playoff, you also are creating more opportunities for these kids to make money. But also, like, the idea that college football should exist for the NFL to cherry pick the top 2% is wrong, right? It is a big part of the game. It is a thing that we're all striving to see the kids get to. But the reality is 98% of them have 5 years to play for. And I want them to have every opportunity to go play for that national championship in those 5 years, or at least something like it, right? The other part about this that I find to be wild interesting is that you think somehow the kids are going to get into a collective bargaining agreement with the NCAA. Now, as much as I would love that to happen and for them to have a Marvin Miller type figure to run their players association, we're years away from that. What we can control right now is telling the television networks and these big teams, hey, look, everybody makes more money if we expand the inventory. Well, you're going to water down the regular season. Okay, because Alabama versus New Mexico State really matters. Alabama versus West Carolina really matters. Alabama versus Citadel really matters. I just rattled off 3 real games to you. Who do they matter to? Those teams that get the payout? Sure, absolutely. But they don't matter. That's not going to make or break how you feel about Alabama. And that's the thing about the playoff, man. I want the rankings to have less impact on who's playing for championships. I like rankings. I love talking about rankings. I like to look at the teams and think who's better than the others. But I also like the opportunity to have 10 automatic qualifiers and 6 at-large bids, right? And you can do those at-large bids in the committee if you want to. But if you win your championship in your league, you don't have to deal with anybody voting you up or down. They'll still do it because they'll have to do seeding. But I don't want you to have anything to do with that at all. I want the scoreboard to be the college football playoff selector, because that's what the game is supposed to be about. Who won and who lost, not who looked good doing it, not even who looked bad doing it. Did you do it? And the other thing about the regular season and these kids talking about making money is, don't you think those are good opportunities for the kids to show themselves with more inventory and more games? NFL's adding the 17th game. You're going to sit here and try to tell me that Denver versus Kansas City is going to impact whether or not you're going to watch Denver or Kansas City. No, you're going to watch it because the NFL is the most popular sport in this country, period. And I dare you to be the person on the internet saying you hate the NFL, because we're all going to look at you and be like, why are you lying to us? 78 to 80 of the top 100 shows every year are NFL regular season games. The worst watched NFL regular season game is one of the most watched television shows of the year every year. What if that was college football? What if college football expanded to where you play 16-game seasons with the 16, 17, 18, 19th game being your national championship game. How much more money is there for the players to make? How much more money is there for the schools to make? How much more money is there for the broadcasters to make? Hey, it feels like a win. And I feel like I'm being gaslit by some of these answers because I'm seeing it. See it with me. Get on board with this. You want to see the regional sport that college football is become the national sport that it needs to be. And then we can talk about taking on the NFL. But we're years away from that. One way to get closer is college football playoff expansion.